On April 5, 2025, millions across the US and Europe took to the streets in a historic wave of protest. From New York to small Midwest towns, a surge of dissent swept the nation. Yet, the mainstream media barely acknowledged it. Over 5 million Americans joined the Hands Off protests in more than 1,400 locations, a staggering show of grassroots power. But that night, TV screens stayed silent, offering only fleeting dismissive mentions. For those on the ground, it was a day of civic engagement; for others, just another Saturday. This disconnect raised urgent questions. Who controls the narrative? What happens when millions are erased from the public record? The April 5th protests were about more than policy. They exposed the power and failure of the institutions meant to inform us. When the people's roar is reduced to a whisper, democracy itself is at stake. The April 5th protests were months in the making, fueled by mounting political tension. President Trump's return brought the creation of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, led by Elon Musk, with a mandate to slash federal spending. Mass layoffs and the near dismantling of the Department of Education sent shockwaves nationwide. Leaked DOGE memos revealed plans to gut environmental protections, weaken LGBTQ+ rights, and tighten immigration. The leaks galvanized opposition, transforming fear into action. The arrest of activists and journalists, seen as an attempt to silence dissent, only intensified outrage. Instead of quelling resistance, these arrests became a rallying cry. The protests became a fight for free speech, press, and democracy itself. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the nation. The hands-off protests were a decentralized marvel, powered by ordinary citizens using encrypted apps and social media. Digital toolkits and local leadership enabled 1,400 events to bloom nationwide, from big cities to rural towns. The protests were peaceful and diverse. Families, teachers, workers, and activists marching side by side. Citizen media streamed the scale and energy live, bypassing traditional news. Creative tactics, human chains, die-ins, and empty desk protests made the message impossible to ignore online. Nonviolence was a conscious strategy, keeping the focus on the issues. The movement's reach into conservative areas shattered the myth of a divided America. In Sioux Falls and Kansas City, thousands rallied for economic security and democratic integrity. These were not just blue state concerns, they were American concerns. The protests united people across party lines, showing the depth of shared values. Coast to coast, the message was clear: the stakes were national. With mainstream media absent, the story was told through a sea of handmade signs, each a personal plea or pointed rebuke. Hands off our Social Security, hands off our schools, and Elon, no one voted for you, captured the movement's spirit. Protesters saw Musk's role as a corporate takeover, not innovation. Slogans like "Government is not a tech startup" and "We are citizens, not users" revealed a clash of values. Environmentalists, teachers, union members, and LGBTQ+ advocates all marched under one banner. The diversity of signs showed this was no single-issue protest. It was a coalition defending democracy and justice. Memes and humor mixed with deeply personal stories, making the stakes real. The signs transformed policy debates into human stories. The crowd's creativity became a declaration of values. The message: millions believed this was worth fighting for. With mainstream media silent, social media became the lifeline of the hands-off protests. Encrypted apps coordinated logistics. Public platforms like X, Instagram, and TikTok spread the word. Hashtags like #hands-off trended, creating a digital rallying point. Thousands live-streamed the protests, offering an unfiltered, real-time view. This citizen reporting built solidarity and documented the scale of dissent. Attempts to censor were futile. Too many voices, too many streams. Social media bypassed traditional gatekeepers, letting the movement speak for itself. The revolution wasn't televised, it was streamed, and the world was watching. Why did major media outlets ignore one of the largest protests in recent history? News networks downplayed or skipped coverage, leaving millions unaware. Some blame fear. Media executives wary of White House retaliation. Others point to direct suppression: journalists detained, live streams cut, equipment seized. This combination of self-censorship and government pressure created a perfect storm of silence. The media's failure denied the public a shared reality, rendering millions invisible. This blackout wasn't just journalistic failure, it was a blow to democracy. After the protests, the administration doubled down. President Trump dismissed millions as paid agitators and vowed to accelerate his agenda. New emergency laws expanded law enforcement powers and criminalized protest. Civil liberties groups condemned the crackdown as an attack on dissent. Doge, under Musk, fast-tracked layoffs and the dismantling of the Department of Education. The government's message, public pressure, would not sway them. This hardline response set a dangerous precedent. Dissent would be met with suppression, not dialogue. The nation was left polarized, with millions wondering how to respond to being ignored and antagonized. April 5th left America at a crossroads. A massive grassroots movement proved millions wouldn't accept radical change in silence. The challenge turned street energy into lasting political power, despite government hostility and media indifference. The administration chose confrontation over compromise, risking deeper division and instability. The story of April 5th isn't over. It's a test of American democracy's resilience. Whether this was a false dawn or a new chapter depends on what happens next. The unseen protest forced a question: what kind of country will America choose to be?